Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Our Global Outlook is sponsored by Maury's monthly newsletter, Global Outlook. You can get your own complimentary copy by calling Carolyn at the phone number below. Say hello to China's intercontinental ballistic missiles, as well as the Iranians, who just broke the nuclear deal again, shooting off rockets in defiance of a UN resolution. Meanwhile, the Trump administration is sending military supplies and aid to Syria for the first time. And Russia launches its biggest Arctic military expansion since the fall of the USSR. That's where I want to start, Maury. We've been talking about Russia and the games and the cyber attacks and all this nonsense, which is really, to me, farcical and BS. But the real thing that we should be looking at is the expansion that they're taking over. And now they're going into the Arctic and starting to put up bases up there and getting a little bit closer to home. What say you?
I don't put that much emphasis on it. I agree with you strategically, but not tactically. What I mean by that is I don't put that. The Arctic thing is way, way in the future. It's not going to mean that much. But what means a lot is a power that Vladimir Putin is being able to generate with a country that shouldn't have the kind of power that it has if it didn't have a leader like Putin. What do they have?
Basically the Middle East.
The czars always wanted an outlet in the Middle East. Well, now they got 2 ports in Syria alone. They can tell Iran what to do. Iran will not do anything that's going to displease Vladimir Putin. The Khamenei, the real ruler of Iran, clears things with Putin. I know that as a fact. So they realize that they have a real ally in Russia, but they're the junior partner. And they won't do anything that Russia doesn't agree with.
And they're expanding in their scope of the old Soviet Union. Little by little by little, they're getting it back.
You hit it right on even better than before, because what did they let go? They let go these Islamic republics.
The stands.
Yeah, the stands. Tajikistan,
Uzbekistan,
Uzbekistan, and so on, Azerbaijan, and so on. And even the one that the Armenian have now, the Armenia was part of the Soviet Union. It was a stupid thing that they did. They didn't have to do it, but I think Gorbachev panicked. You know why he panicked? Because Reagan came up with Star Wars, and they bought into it. People don't realize that the fantasy of Star Wars is what finally realized Gorbachev that there's no chance they're going to win a war against the United States, because that meant the United States could put a cover over itself.
But their economy was in crumbles too.
Well, they never had an economy other than, I'll tell you one economy they had that won the war for them, because I give Russia total credit for being the country that crushed Germany, and that is their military capability. Behind the Ural Mountains, which the Germans didn't know about, they had the biggest development of MiG and Stormberg airplanes. They had tanks, they had guns, and they were able to, that's what they were able to throw into the fight that finally crushed the Wehrmacht. 80% of the German Wehrmacht operated on the Eastern Front, and it was crushed by the Russians. Sure, we sent them some jeeps and trucks and so on, but the manpower of
and Mother Nature played a role in that too.
Well, the winter was cold, but that's overdone. Germany could have crushed Russia if Russia didn't have the military power that they did. But outside of military power and vodka and oil and natural gas. Now, you see, the Soviet Union controlled Eastern and parts of Central Europe from 1945 to 1990. In 45 years, they built the best integral pipeline structure we've ever seen in the world. So all these countries are dependent on Russian oil and natural gas, because they have, it's not easy to make pipelines overnight. So they still have a huge edge of supplying Central Europe and Eastern Europe, all of Eastern Europe and some of Central Europe, with their needs for oil and natural gas.
How concerned should we be about China's new ICBMs and the Iranians shooting their little rockets off?
Well, you're mentioning two separate situations.
Correct.
China, I'm not worried about. I think China is not looking for
Provocation.
They're not looking for confrontation. They don't have a basic society that's looking to fight the West. I mean, they are looking. Their economy is just fantastic. I mean, they are able to produce more steel than the rest of the world put together, copper, everything. They're still growing and doing a great job of it. Iran is extremely dangerous. I think Iran today is the most dangerous country in the world because, first of all, they want to wipe out Israel, which of course would cause Israel to use their nuclear capability.
And we're not far behind.
Absolutely. You know, I heard just this morning as we speak here that they sent a missile in the air and said in Hebrew, Israel must be wiped out. You know, when you make that kind of a provocation, you're creating a situation that can explode into reality at any time.
And don't you think the Iranians sense that things are going to change rapidly under a President Trump than they have been under President Passover?
I think that's why they're doing what they're doing now. They realize if they're going to get anything done and leverage themselves into a power position, they better do that now. You know, thank God that John Kerry is no longer Secretary of State. Do you know that the State Department has been pro-Arab, pro-Islamic ever since Roosevelt okayed Saudi Arabia back in the early 1930s.
Absolutely.
And
when people like Michelle Bachmann brought that up, they were chastised and tossed aside as crackpots when everything that they said was true.
The State Department is going to be cleaned up like it never has before. The one great thing that you're going to get from Trump, in my opinion, is he's going to turn this country upside down from the standpoint of the kind of rigid ownership of certain elements of our society.
You mentioned the State Department. He's already gone in and started to wipe that situation clear. He's already cleaning house over at the State Department.
You know, what's the Secretary Tillerson, is it?
Rex Tillerson?
Yeah, the great guy. Great. The very fact that he dealt with Putin, the Democrats made a big deal out of that. Well, there's a bunch of little islands called the Sakhalin Islands in Asia that had a lot of oil, and the ExxonMobil was interested in it, and it's controlled by Russia. It was at one time Russia and Japan. Now and they made a deal. It was a business deal. It doesn't mean he loves Putin. I think he's going to be a great Secretary of State. If you look at the kind of people that Trump is surrounding himself with, these are management people. These are people
successful,
that
accomplished,
not a bunch of political hacks.
Right. Education types, academic types.
Just example, Department of Commerce. I know the woman that was for 8 years Secretary of Commerce. You probably don't even know the name.
Pritzker.
Let me shake your hand. I mean, I
know exactly who you're talking about.
Okay, well, I know that family. They're a nice Jewish family in Chicago, and they're very charitable and so on. But I have met her, and she's a very nice lady. But what has she done with the Department of Commerce? Nothing, absolutely nothing. Wilbur Ross has taken over, one of the great business minds of this era. That's just one example.
One of the first people that Donald Trump reached out to was General Assisi, which I found to be very telling as to where the Middle East is probably going to go under a Trump administration. What do you think?
He reached out to him. Remember why he reached out to him? Because Assisi was the guy that was going to go to the United Nations to forbid Israel from having building
settlements,
neighborhoods. And he withdrew it, and then Obama outsmarted him by getting Malaysia and the bankrupt nation of Venezuela, which is another story, to come in. And they, for the first time, the United States did not act negatively. They just let it go.
And didn't act on Israel's behalf.
That's right.
We need to take a quick break. We'll be right back with our Homeland Security, the Political Insider, and our moment in history. Our quote of the day is, "Courage is what it takes to stand up and speak. Courage is also what it takes to sit down and listen. You know who said that?
Some good listener.
Winston Churchill.
No kidding.
We'll be right back.